friends. I am really excited to do this project with you today. We're going to be learning about landscapes and patterns. As you can tell, I have lots of patterns in here. And for some reason, when you combine those two things together, you create some pretty spectacular landscapes. Now, all you really need for this is a pencil, but I added a whole bunch of color for fun. So I show you how you can do it both ways. I hope you enjoy this project. This is a really fun and creative project. You can get super detailed with it and spend a lot of time on it, or you can have it really simple. There's really quite a range that you can do with this project. So there are, first things first, of course, supplies you need. You can do everything with a pencil if that's all you have. But of course, if you do have crayons or markers or anything else, I would really encourage you to add some color to it, because that's what makes this project pop really, really well. Okay, let's get started. First off, we're going to learn a little bit about patterns. Now, in art, what makes a pattern? A pattern is simply that it's something that repeats itself. So, you could have a pattern that's just a bunch of repeating shapes. And that's a pattern. But the pattern doesn't have to sync up exactly right. It can be like, and you can have lots of different shapes, lines. That can be a pattern. Now, in the art world, there's an endless variety of patterns, but I'm kind of talking more about how we're going to create patterns that serve us today. Another type of pattern that you might want to use today is like a crosshatch pattern, where you just overlap lines. That's something that you can also do with shapes, is just kind of overlap them and see what happens over and over again. Sometimes you can create patterns that are really close to each other. Like these, it kind of looks like scales. Or you could do a pattern where the shapes are further apart. That can be a pattern. So really, there's a lot of different ways that you can create a pattern for this project. The biggest thing is just that it repeats. So whatever you are adding to your pattern, then it needs to be more than one of them to make it a pattern. Okay, let's get started with the project. Get a blank piece of paper. The first step of this project is you are going to draw a landscape. Now, when I say landscape, all I mean is land. So that's quite the range, right? You can do a landscape of a sunset, a field with trees and a sunset. You can do a landscape that's an ocean and the beach or the mountains, really anything that you want it to be. I'm going to do a sunset on the ocean, because that sounds like a combination of things that I love. Now, I'm going to make it super simple, because really the patterns are going to make this project stand out. So I'm going to do lots of big, bold lines, and I'm not going to get too detailed. If you get too detailed at this drawing phase, you'll see that it's much harder later on, okay? So this is going to be my ocean, and I'm going to come down here and do the same thing again and again. But I'm not going to do it all now. I'll probably stop the camera. But I'm going to kind of have this be this actually is a pattern in and of itself, but I'm not going to use it as one. So I'm going to do this all the way down. I won't do it right now. Then I'm going to have my sun here, and I'm going to divide up this top piece of paper so it looks kind of like sun rays, which I think look pretty cool. Okay. Now I'm going to finish drawing in this part of it, and I will get right back to you. Okay, here is my landscape or sunset, whatever you want to call it. The next step that I like to do, and it's an optional step because you can get right into the pattern making with just pencil, but I love to trace over my lines in a Sharpie marker, or a permanent marker, or it really can just be a black colored pencil or a pen, anything that really just kind of makes those lines pop out. So that's going to be my next step, and I'm going to take a second to do it, and then I will come check right back in. Okay, here's my outline sunset. Now, the next stage of this drawing is when I add patterns. So, all these beautiful different repeating shapes, I'm going to do that again and again and again on this landscape. Now, because I knew I was going to do that, I want you to notice that I created a lot of big areas for me to draw patterns. I didn't do a lot of little details. You don't want to do any details yet. The patterns will be the detail. So, in each section of my drawing, I am going to draw a different pattern. And I know that seems daunting and overwhelming, but it's actually really quite fun. And you can make your patterns pretty simple. Now, you can go ahead and do it just with a pencil, if that's what you want to do. But I'm going to do, my method that I'm going to do is I'm going to use marker and colored pencil. Now I'm just sketching right now in pencil because I want to show that it comes out really cool. You can just use pencil and that's it, and it'll work really, really well. But like I said, I'm going to use marker. So I am decided that I'm going to, this whole space right here, I'm going to use only yellow and red and orange because I just think those colors go nice together. Now, something to think about. You do not want, and you'll see why in a second, you do not want to mix the colors in each section. You don't want more than one color in a section. So I do not want to add some orange circles or yellow circles. I want it all red. The reason why is because we're gonna have a crazy amount of patterns on this page, and if we have a lot of color in one section and a bunch of patterns, your brain will explode because it will have way too much information. It won't know what to do. So that's why we're gonna stick to one color for one section. Okay, now I'm gonna take some time and I'm gonna fill in my beautiful picture with patterns, and then you will see a little bit more clearly how this picture's or how it's kind of comes together. Okay, so I have filled in my patterns. So I hope it's a little more obvious what I'm trying to, what I was trying to say before is that you want big sections so that you can spend a lot of time putting those patterns in. Now, you'll notice again that I only use one color for each section. If I do more than one color, my brain will explode. Now, down here, I noticed that my blue marker was really quite dark. I did not want it that dark, but I think that the problem might solve a little bit later. Now, I use the same color for every single section here, but that's because I'm gonna do something a little bit fun and tricky. The next step for me, if you have markers and colored pencils, then the next step for you would be to get your colored pencils out. Now you can stop the project here and it would look really, really cool and it would be fun and it would be done. But I love to take colored pencils and do a little background coloring. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take each section and I'm gonna color it in with a different color. Now, it can be the same color as the marker, or you can change it up. Like this is a purple colored pencil and I'm putting it behind a dark blue marker. and I'll probably rotate them. Now you can, let me show that again with something else. So I think I'm gonna do with this yellow here, I'm gonna do a background. I need to sharpen this. A background here of orange. And it's kind of a cool effect when the marker sort of is a different color than the background. It sort of has a cool effect to it, as you'll see. So I'm going to take a second and I'm going to do my background coloring with my colored pencils, and then we can look at the final result. Okay, here is my finished drawing with all the colored pencils in the background. Again, I just want to say one more time, make sure that there is only one color in each section. You can, though, play with the background color and the foreground color. You can have them be different, as I did that in several of them, which is kind of fun to do as well. So yes, there is a lot of possibilities for this project. I really hope you have fun making it. Well, I hope you had fun. I really want you to share with me your artwork. I would love to see what you came up with. No two students are ever the same, and so it's always exciting to see what your creative brains have going on. So please share with me, and I hope that you enjoyed this time.